Hey, this is Randy on. This is a video doc I made. This is a field trip that occurred on 5/18/2023. This was the tail end of school, and this is the whole video doc I made. Hope you guys enjoy. This will be more of a director's commentary. It's too long of a video to edit and add fun little bits to it, but you'll definitely see some bizzazzed up bits here and there, so I hope you guys do find the video at least somewhat entertaining. Alright, thank you. This is my video doc. I'm gonna video doc everything. Good for you, man.
So your ass come downstairs and stow away.
You just stow away. Alright, so the first character in this anime is gonna be my brother Andy. He's not supposed to be on this field trip, but since he knew me, I got him on, and he would end up taking the seat of our lovely teacher, Miss. Her name.
Got her name?
God, I'm such a terrible student. Miss Stewart, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so she would end up having to drive her car and following us. So that's how that happened. So yeah, you're gonna see him. He's gonna be my company for the whole trip.
Honestly, we did her a favor. You know, our air-conditioned car, not crammed in that tin can.
Yeah,
I did her a favor.
Okay. Yeah, he did her a favor.
We'll be able to get back on the bus after the Japanese gardens and the rose test gardens. All right, so just say here when you hear your name. Daniela. Here. Dow. Emily.
This is just Miss Stewart taking roll. We don't need to stick around here too long. Just making sure everyone's here. We almost missed one kid, Dow. He almost missed Rendezvous, but we got him. You can see him later. Here.
Samara. Here. Shane.
Here.
Somi.
Here.
Truly. Here. Victoria. Here. Andy.
Here. So that is the face of a man who just snuck onto a high school field trip. That's not even supposed to be in the first place, and he completely got away with it. Roster on the name and everything. It's official.
Valerie. Here. Jimena. Here. Aiden. Here. Cheryl. Here. Dylan.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
All right, nobody misses a day when it's a field trip day. It's going to be awesome. All right, who forgot a water bottle? Did anybody forget a water bottle?
All right, I actually didn't go over what the field trip was about. For those who are not in the know, we went on a field trip to the Japanese gardens down in Portland, Oregon. I was surprised too that Portland did have a Japanese garden, and as well as the Pittock Mansions, which is, I guess it was a place. Looked really cool. Owned by some white dude, I'm pretty sure. But the tour for that place was actually $10.50, which I had the money, but I wasn't going to spend $10.50 on a walking tour of some random place I didn't really care about. Yeah.
Going to the restroom, getting some water, refilling your water bottle.
And also another thing, this class would be not only made of AP art students, which I was a part of, it would also be made of photography students, and I think another elective, so we had about 3 classes, 20, 30 kids. 2? I swear to God it was 3.
Yeah, it was 2.
2.
2 15-ish classes, so it made like 40.
40 kids? Really?
40 or 30.
Yeah, so it was a lot of kids, so it was a miracle that Andy actually got fitted into that school bus.
Oh, okay. Well, the bus isn't even here, so.
You better meet Rendezvous. Oh, he's gonna listen.
Yeah, because I do have it. I was.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't want lunch.
Get your lunch. I want for everyone else to get lunch first, because I'm not going on the bus.
We'll share lunch. Oh my God, my favorite lunch. Air. Oh. I actually scored with that lunch. That lunch it was ham and cheese. Everyone got ham and cheese, but that cheese was Monterey Jack cheese. No, Monterey Jack, pepper jack cheese, and that is the best cheese ever because it's a little bit spicy and it goes good with mayo and ketchup, or not ketchup, mustard. So it's very good. I scored that. Some people got American cheese. I mean, it's fine, but like I would rather have that on a burger. Yeah, that's it. Oh, okay. This is the part where we get on the bus. So let's play some funky transition music for this next bit. That's Mep's food. That's Mep's food.
Disappointing, you couldn't make it.
Okay, before I go any further with this goofy song, there was a traffic accident that both lanes slowed down for, even though it happened on one lane, and it's gonna be the start of the show for like a good chunk of this video done, so it's gonna come up again. Oh, there you are.
See the body?
No?
Really?
Oh, the car crash?
Yeah, there was a body.
I didn't see that.
Weird car crash. Someone jumped
I-
off the bridge above one of the cars.
Oh, shit. I saw the cars and the police, but I didn't see the body. It was on your side, right? Your guys'
Left
side?
side.
Yeah, it was on your side.
You were on your side. It was on your side.
But I saw the... I gotta look through this footage now. Pause. Upon further inspection, I did find out that I did record a small slither of the deceased person on the road. Now, into respect of the family and the loved ones of that person, I decided to not leave it in the film. I don't want this thing to turn into a snuff film, and I feel like it's the most respectful thing to do. Also, I do want to keep this thing family-friendly to an extent, so there you go.
You can eat. I can take what you eat. These people were saying that there was a guy on the road. Yeah, it was.
Is that what they were going to talk about?
That's the talking point of the trip. That's the main thing of this whole field trip's about, not the...
Yeah, that made my day. Alright, in hindsight, maybe joking about the dead corpse on the side of the road was not a good thing to talk about. So I apologize for that statement.
Nothing new.
There's nothing new. I gotta check my footage, man. I don't know if I got him or not. Nope. So this is the event organizer. She's a nice lady, I guess. And we're gonna get into conflict with her later. But for now, nice tour guide lady.
Besides water, so if you have any of that, you put it away or dispose of it before we head up. That would be great. We ask you to please stay on all designated paths as we walk around and not walk onto the moss. It's really delicate and learners don't have to be walking on. You can use your cell phone to take pictures if it's okay with your teacher, but please silence your phones and refrain from using them. Does anyone have questions before we head out?
No, ma'am.
You have a shuttle that can take people up if you prefer. It's about a 5-minute walk uphill. Otherwise, we'll all walk together. Ready to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I'll lead the way from in the back. Sure, sounds good.
Did you already do your portfolio? Yeah, that was like...
Are you getting this? Jesus. So this was the point where we actually got into the gardens. I mean, before that, we were just seeing the normal sights of, you know, garbage and cityscapes and tall evergreen trees, which normal in Portland, Oregon. Now we were actually hitting like Japanese architecture in like parts of the garden. It was really beautiful and breathtaking to really see in person. So I hope this video does it justice. It'd be a true documentary.
The way one branch is leaning out to the right, which you might notice. So a temple in Japan. Come through the park. And it's years ago about a nobleman who would flirt with women on a paying homage to the bear by putting it down at this garden of the truck that was too heavy to move.
Alright, at this point in the documentary, or the video, this is just strictly going to be just raw footage, documentary based, nothing fancy, no transition. So you're going to see the raw of it. You're also going to hear me breathe a lot, because I switched to my camera after this, or my phone, because my camera died. Nope, same camera for like 15 years in my family. The batteries, of course, is going to last like 10 minutes at best, so I have to use my phone, so that's why you're going to hear me breathe more. So, I know. There you go. Want to see more action or see my fun little more edits, just or documentary
I just
commentary,
died.
just skip to the point where we just rendezvous back to where the video's showing right now. Alright, see ya.
We'll have 2 tour guides, so
Not sure. But at any rate, then the foot soldiers would have marched in on either side through the shorter doors. But the most interesting thing about that to me is the tree, the pine right there, and the way one branch is leaning out to the right, which you might notice and say, well, that's sort of nice the way that does that. You don't know, or you wouldn't pay any attention to it because you were looking through trying to figure out what was coming next. The tree didn't just grow that way. It was trained for that branch to go out there because it represents the hostess of the garden saying, please come into my garden. So we'll go into her garden.
if they're not quite ready for us,
Everything in a Japanese garden to me is made up of patterns, the plants create patterns, the water and the reflections on the water create patterns. It's all about patterns. It's also all about going slowly and meditating, thinking of beauty, thinking of dignity, thinking for many people in the old days of their religion. How many people have been here before? Oh, one person. Okay, here we go. Now this one garden is actually composed of 5 different garden styles. And it's a little bit hard for us to know exactly why the designer decided to do that. It's not typical in Japan. But the fact is, he was a professor of garden design in Japan. So we think maybe he wanted us all to know that this, whatever you have in your head as being a Japanese garden, that might be just one of many different styles. So we'll stop over on this side so people can walk through that way. And this is a good place to start right off by saying, look at how the paving changes and changes. It's all patterns, just patterns. And this arbor was built to be a frame for the pagoda down there because the pagoda is special, and I'll tell you about it. So there's this frame so that it focuses the pagoda a little better than before. And for thinking out of the box, and anybody getting involved in art, you wish you could think out of the box, and you guys probably all do, and I don't. But I'm always impressed when people do. This vine, well, these old ones, are really heavy, and they'd knock an arbor down in about 10 years, the weight of them. So what the designer did was he got cardboard cylinders, filled them up with concrete, and as the concrete set up, he took the cardboard away and took the gum and made it look like the bark of the Douglas fir there. So you might easily walk right smack by here and pay no attention at all, unless you banged your elbow, then you'd pay attention, I think. But otherwise, you know, there it is, concrete, not wood, but the rest is wood, and it stayed there. And then one other thing, and then we'll move on. The Japanese have a design concept called mitate. Mitate means reusing old things, but it's not recycling them like, oh, what did I just see? A hummingbird feeder from a pop bottle, you know? That's recycling in one way. But their recycling is appreciating things because it's old. So I always joke, a lot of our guides just got recycled for the guides from whatever else we did in our lives as we got older and retired. Anyway, these stones that you see down here are the kind of stones, they are these stones that were put in the bows of the big sailing ships when the sailing ships sailed across the ocean, you know. They didn't have motors, they didn't run on engines or anything like that, and if a big wind came up and the boat was too light in the hull, it would just blow over. So they would fill the hull up with stones and then throw them down in the harbors of wherever the boat was going, and people would make streets out of them then. And so after macadam was developed, after streets became asphalt, for the most part the stones would be thrown away, thrown on the side, because they didn't need them anymore. The garden got some of them, and it's mitate. It's reusing something old that has a history and is kind of interesting. So let's move on. I thought it was so special that we had a sister city now. Okay, Sapporo. This little sign could say Pagoda from Sapporo, and then everybody would know, and you wouldn't need me here, blah, blah, blah. But the designer did something really, really slick. He put these stones in the ground here in the shape of the island of Hokkaido, which is the northernmost big island on the archipelago of Japan. And over in the upper left-hand corner, it's not looking like a different color right now, but in certain light it's slightly pinker or browner. And that is where the city of Sapporo would sit on the map of Hokkaido. So how cool is that? Just make a map out of stones and, you know, and let you all guess, unless you've got someone like me telling you. You just wouldn't know that, would you? Nobody would.
Oh, man.
We're not used to making maps with stones in the ground. So that's kind of cool. Now, we are entering the strolling pond garden, which is a style of garden that started around 1600. And it started for lords and ladies to wander around and write poetry to nature. Don't we all do that in our gardens? Mm-hmm. Yep. No throwing a frisbee for the dog, no barbecuing, no getting a suntan, none of that stuff. Write poetry to nature and think about your religion. So throughout this strolling pond garden, there are little symbols that represent things in Buddhism. And for example, the little knob on top of this pagoda is a stylized lotus blossom bud. And Buddhists believe that Buddha came out of a lotus blossom, so that little symbol reminds people of Buddhism. And for that matter, the spirals are spirals of enlightenment. But that's a long, long story. You don't study that on your own. Don't need to do that in the garden. One thing Japanese gardens do a whole lot is use a technique called Nichijou, which means to hide and reveal. It's pretty tricky because here, you can look through here, and you really don't know what you're going to see outside of a few native trees. But as you go through, all of a sudden it's revealed again. And all through the garden, you'll see there are areas that are closed down, and then they open up. And the idea is to encourage your curiosity. Like, I don't know, if you're bored, you're not going to be curious, I guess. But otherwise you go, oh, wonder what's there. That's what you're supposed to do anyway. So we'll go down through here into the strolling pond garden. Again, right here we have those stylized lotus blossom buds. And Well, looks like there's little work going on here. But this is the upper garden of the strolling pond garden. And across the way, right where one of the gardeners is, you'll see a lantern. And written in the lantern, in the cap, is "For everlasting peace in the world." The lantern was a gift from Japan to us, from the city of Yokohama. And we call it the Peace Lantern, and we're waiting for some peace. But what I find interesting is that in Western culture, for most of us, if we had something that we considered a treasure, whatever it might be, from a pink flamingo to a dwarf to a lantern, we'd put it probably in the middle of the front lawn or right under the living room window, so we'd see it absolutely all the time, because we usually, Westerners, kind of do that. And in the East, the idea is if you have to work a little bit harder to see something, you don't take it for granted, you appreciate it more. Now, it's just a different way of looking at things, and nothing's right or wrong, but it's just interesting. And it is true that you have to work a little harder to see that. The men have just pruned those bushes. Sometimes you have to work really hard to see it. But at any rate, now, I was talking about plants. Okay, this is just about to work, and I didn't want to stop on the bridge with such a big group, because other people wouldn't be able to get by us. But the hillside over there is covered with rounded green bushes, and they're just starting to bloom white. They're azaleas, and they're meant to represent a cascade of water that's coming down into the waterless at the moment pond. They're fixing some things that live here. So another case of plants representing something else. The bridge itself, how many people have seen those moon bridges? They're bright red, they go bloop like this, you know? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they're used in Japanese gardens. They started in Chinese gardens, and the Chinese, of course, have a much older culture than Japan does. So initially, Japanese copied a great deal of things from Chinese gardens. But then around the 1400s, the Zen Buddhist monks kind of took control of the culture. And they said, we don't want anything showy like that. We want the wood to look, to watch it age, to know that it's loved and it's used and it's old. We don't want it to be bright red, because that's way too show-offy. We want to be humble. We want to respect the materials we're using. It's really a different way of looking at the world. And that's the way things were looked at for quite a lot of years after the Zen Buddhist monks took over. And so no longer did you have the moon bridges doing this. You have wood that you watch get old. You see the cracks, it's smooth along the top of the railing because of people's hands. That's what they liked. So let's see, we're going to leave this strolling pond garden for a couple of minutes and pop into the tea house garden. I can. Come on in, we can fit. We can fit. Okay. Someone just gestured at the little bowl of water here. So this is as good a time as any to tell you that that is very typical of what you would see if you were entering a temple in Japan, or sometimes people's homes, or a museum. All kinds of different areas have something like that. And the idea is that you lean down and dip your hands in the water and shake them off, and you're respecting the place that you're going into by pretending to wash your hands, because you're not using soap and doing it, you're just doing this. Do you want to get by? Are we crowding you?
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, don't be at all. We interrupted you with it. So that's what, when you see those features, that's just a sign of respect for the place that you're going into. But now, in actuality, this tea house garden, you wouldn't enter it this way. You'd enter it from down that way. And the funny thing is that we end up going out the in way, because we can't let people walk through these first two sections, because if you step off the rocks into the moss, you kill the moss. And we, unlike lots of people who don't want moss in their lawns, we love our moss. We want our moss to be all over. We want it to look healthy and not clot at all. So that's what that's all about. Now the tea house garden is always, in Japan, is always, I should say, found in a corner of a piece of property, whether it's a private home or a temple or a school or whatever it might be. The idea is that it might be more tranquil in the corner than it would be out in the middle of some place. And being tranquil is a big part of it. If you were coming to a tea house, to a tea ceremony, you would come through the part that we're going to go out of. You would walk into the middle garden, and there's a gate there, and there's that little shack over there called a Nichijou. And you would sit down there and you'd wait, and you'd try to compose yourself. So if you were totally worked up because you hadn't finished your school paper and therefore your mom wouldn't let you go to the movies, or your brother spilled milk on your best jeans, or whatever was completely discombobulating you at the moment, you'd sit there and look at nature and try to be calm and forget that you were irritated as the road goes. And when the host or hostess in here thought you'd had enough time to calm down, that person would walk down the stones, sprinkling them with water to symbolically cleanse them for your entering. And you would come up into this outside room, and you would take your shoes off, and then you'd step up into the inner room, and the tea ceremony would begin. And the host or hostess who performed the tea ceremony would be a person who'd studied for years. I mean, people study for 30, 40 years to do everything exactly right at a tea ceremony. It's kind of interesting, and I liken it a little bit to certain church rituals where the priest or the minister does the same thing every time when it's lighting the candles or whatever he's doing. And in this case, the hostess will boil water in a cast iron pot, and then you use her hands in a certain way to stir the powdered tea into the pot, and then the hand motions are the same every time to pour tea into the little cup, hand the cup to a guest. So it's very ritualized, and it's so old-fashioned for our age. I mean, this isn't slapping you a mug of hot chocolate or coffee on the kitchen table and saying what's new. This was old and very well and long established. The tea ceremony. If anybody's interested in hear about it. Now, our tea house was built in Japan, and it's absolutely authentic. It was taken apart after it was built, boxed up, sent over here, reassembled, and it's all pegged together, which is the old-fashioned way, except for this gutter has screws in it. So I say it's all pegged together, and then I look at a screw and go, well, not quite, but almost at any rate. Let me see. The walk up from, well, through the sections of garden to the tea house is supposed to look as though you're walking up a mountain path, which for anybody who hikes in the gorge or anywhere else, don't look like that, do they? Are mountain paths, and afraid not. But that's what it's supposed to look like. The Japanese like to idealize nature, and to have perfect nature, we know, is not nature, is it? It's real life. It's like what's going on in the woods up there, where you've got vines on trees and things to trip you and broken branches and all the rest of the stuff. But as you look around here, you'll see that everything is pruned and clipped, and there's a huge effort to make everything perfect. That was the idea. And they achieve it pretty darn well, but of course it takes 8 lawyers to do it all the time, and they're perfectly trained in Japan to make it perfect as possible. But the reason that it's supposed to look like a mountain path that you're walking up is because in the very, very, very old days, like before 1000 AD, the monks in Japan would go over to China to study Buddhist texts. And if you've seen the Oriental prints of craggy mountains with a little house hanging, shackles have been hanging off the side of a cliff, you know, and a few plants in the foreground. That was more or less what they were doing. They were going off all by themselves, the monks, Chinese and Japanese, and studying Buddhist texts and drinking tea. And Japan didn't have tea. It didn't grow in Japan, but it grew in China. So the monks started bringing tea back to Japan, and that's how Japan got tea. And at first, of course, the way it usually is, only the wealthy people could drink tea, because they were the only people who could afford it. But eventually, everybody could drink tea, so then everybody would have these tea ceremonies. So we're going to keep moving on here. We'll leave the tea house garden, and we'll go through the entrance. really very attractive patterns. So when you think there's nothing new under the sun, I don't know, look at a dried up piece of clay and see what you come up with. Yeah, a puddle. And those 4 people would sit there and then get ready. It looks like they're going to have a tea ceremony here this afternoon. Close it to the public and no, people can stand out and look, which is nice. And the lanterns that you'll see all around the garden, there's one right over there. It's thought that in the first garden, it's thought that originally they were designed and built for tea house gardens. And then they just became really popular architectural elements in a garden. Oh, those are camellias.
Camellias, okay.
Yeah. Well, you know, they bloom from about different varieties and species bloom from a Japanese garden. It's a symbol for Buddha or for enlightenment. So you don't see them all over the garden, but that's what that is. And now we have left the tea house garden. We walked through this opening section of it, and we're going back into the strolling pod garden, and this is kind of fun. We're going to go on a bridge that has 9 right angles, and there are 3 reasons for 9 right angles. The first is a really logical one. It kind of slows us down to be able to look at the things around all of us down there. And the second is that in Buddhist mythology, evil spirits only travel in a straight line, so they're not going to follow us. And the third is a literary reference, which doesn't happen in Western landscape architecture at all, but it does in Japanese. And in this case, there is a book that was written 1,000 years ago about a nobleman who would flirt with women on a bridge with 9 right angles. So that's the literary reference. Doesn't mean much of anything, does it, to us? But that's what it is. So now I've told you.
I'm gonna take a video of this.
We've got about, I think we have about 40 koi altogether. I was just asking today. About 10 of them are in the infirmary right now. The infirmary back over there. They get scale diseases and things. But some of these koi are really, really big. They're highly prized in Japan, and the ones that have the most colors and are the most symmetrical on either sides of the spine are the ones that consider the most valuable. So the black ones wouldn't have any value at all, and the silver one wouldn't, but that one would. And this one, isn't that missing? I call mine.
Man, I do not want to drop my phone in this. Like Japanese flag? Yeah. White. Red dot. That's neat.
All these koi are used to being fed right along here, so they hang out hoping that the gardener's going to come and feed them, you know? Just like my dog. You all have dogs like that?
Run, baby.
What's it called, Yuuji? Yeah, I forgot what the term was called, though. Because I am not that smart.
It's kind of hard to believe that in Japan, these fish are sold at auction sometimes for breeding. And they have sold for over $100,000. We're talking about a fish, you know, which blows me away. But then when you think of racehorses or prize cattle or something, they sell for, 10 times that. So it's all about trying to breed them. It's good that one's something big.
What a cool. One of them's root big. I think one of them. No, it's fine. The one of them died. I'm like, God damn it. Another death in Portland. Alright.
circle, and that's the dipper part of it. And there's a big significance about this. Anybody get it? You're right. Ursa Major. Ursa is the genus of the bears. Hey. So what the designer was doing was paying homage to the bear by putting the Big Dipper here. Who would ever know? I mean, first of all, you don't even notice that there's stones in the exposed aggregate because everybody's standing here. But I think it's a pretty cool way to do it anyway, you know? Just very subtle, not in your face at all. So this is the end of the strolling pond garden. Now, you may or may not have noticed, and you may or may not care, a garden like this doesn't have perennials or annuals. There are no petunias, there are no marigolds, there are no roses, there are no dahlias, there are no peonies, you know. There aren't flowers except on some of the shrubs. The reason is that the Japanese think that all these shades and tints of green are meditative. And I think that's probably right. You know, I think things like the rose garden get you sort of going, you know, orange, you got red, you know, pink, you got purple, you know. And here they're just all these, just so many different shades and tints of green. So that's why there aren't a lot of flowers outside of the broadleaf evergreens, things like azaleas. They're called broadleaf evergreens, and they're going to bloom. You know, we have a very boring garden if you make sure that nothing ever blooms, but it's only the shrubs that bloom, not the plants, except for the iris planted here. That's the big exception. They're not blooming yet, but they're planted there. They're Japanese iris, and they grow along streams and muddy areas in Japan. And so they're planted to reinforce the idea that you're walking along a little creek, and there are all these koi right there, you know, which probably isn't really true. Did you know that koi, can, if they're in a big lake, can get 25 feet long? Can you imagine a 25-foot long koi coming up to you? I think I'd faint. It's just like having a shark come up to you, you know, all orange and white and black. I mean, I think that's crazy. And they could, I mean, you know, in your head crazy. And they could live to be, not live to, yes. They could be 25 feet long, and they could live to be 25 to 35 years old. And there's one in Japan that like 4 generations of one family have taken care of, and they say they're more than 100 years old. And, you know, skeptical people say can't be, but who knows? I don't know. Just throwing it out, you know?
Could I take a real quick group picture?
Yes, please do. It's a perfect place.
Everybody this way, facing me, and I'll get a...
This little feature right here is called a shishiodoshi, and that may sound like the start of a rap song, but it translates as animal chaser. And so the idea is that that clunk, I don't know what else to call it, but a clunk, would scare animals out of the garden. Well, of course, you know, we have squirrels who pay no attention, and we may have raccoons, and I think raccoons would just go shishiodoshi, go right back to digging up the moss to get the beetles and the worms, you know. Which makes me think of something. Maybe some of you have familiarity with your own families or other families having ponds and having fish in the ponds, and then heron come and eat the fish, or raccoons get the fish, and everybody's terribly upset. And so people are always asking here, how do you keep the fish safe? And the fact is that this lower pond, which is the only place where the fish are, the stone walls are a good at least 12 inches high, and a raccoon cannot lean over a stone wall. It could wade out, but there's no place for it to wade out. So the fish are safe from that kind of predator. But a few summers ago, down there where we were standing, all of a sudden there was all this screaming, and the gardeners thought, oh my gosh, some child has fallen in and this is awful. And everybody went running down to see what awful thing had happened. And it was awful. It was an osprey that had been sitting up in one of the trees and looking at those fish going, I guess I'm going to get the silver and orange one. I mean, I'm making that up. But anyway, the osprey came down and just grabbed a great big fish and flew off with it. So that everybody who was visiting the garden, who happened to be there at the moment, started just screaming. And so the gardeners came running down and got all the fish in that creek area where you all saw them. And they put bamboo poles across the creek, and then they put netting on top of the bamboo poles. So the fish were safe. They were a little confined, but they were safe. And the osprey flew around for about a week and then left. And I was telling this story the next summer, and someone said, yeah, the osprey went, probably the same one, went to the Chinese gardens and started eating their fish. Their pond was too big to protect the fish, so kind of crazy. That osprey was a international eater, I guess you'd say. Okay, so there are two gardens here we do not walk through, so we're going to go around to the left, where we've been a little bit. One of these is called the natural gardens, but we just don't take you.
Some sashimi or something. Or some. What's that fried chicken called again? Katsu, yeah.
Oh, that is a glass piece of art. Let's get up here and I'll tell you about it. Isn't that fabulous? It is all strands of glass that a Japanese artist who was in residence here made. And I just can't understand how they don't blow in the big winds and break.
We had them just a couple days ago.
Yeah, they must be kind of protected with the trees around. But anyway, it's all rain. It's pretty nifty, isn't it? I don't know how you would cast long strings of glass. This way so you know that people could get by you, behind you. This stone we call the poetry stone, and it's got a kind of cute story behind it. Did you all have to write haiku in middle school? Mm-hmm. Yeah, most people write haiku in middle school. So lots of students from middle school come and take a look at this and go, oh, and that's the end of that. But there is a kind of a cute story about this. It's that in 1965, the garden was ready to be opened for a while, not a full opening, but they needed to try to get money from entries to keep building the garden, you know. So to celebrate the fact that the garden finally, after 3 years of construction, was going to be opened, there was a big fancy dinner party. And the garden designer was here from Japan, and also a preeminent poet just happened to be in Portland from Japan. So he was invited to the dinner party. And after the dinner, the garden designer, very respectfully said, "Would you consider writing a poem about our garden?" And the poet said, "Oh, here, choose one." He pulled a napkin out of his pocket and he'd written several haiku poems and on the paper napkin, and the gardener said, "Okay," and he chose a poem, and the poet said, "I'll send it to you." So everybody thought a scroll would come because that's what, you know, makes sense. But instead, months went by and then this stone came, and the haiku on it is, "Here, miles from Japan, I stand as if warmed by the spring sunshine of home." So if you were Japanese and you were homesick, that might make you feel better. That's the idea. But now here's a tricky thing about this. I often have visitors who actually can read Japanese, know Japanese, which I can't. But anyway, one person one time said, well, you can't read the whole, they get almost through the poem and then fade out and wander off. And it turns out that two of the last characters are archaic. And so if you didn't know, it would be like, well, I don't know exactly, because it's the characters themselves, not the words. I don't know quite how to explain that, but at any rate, the characters that are not used anymore in Japan, making it impossible to read the poem if you didn't happen to know the archaic characters. And so I thought, well, okay, that's kind of weird, but, you know. Anyway, and then one time I had a man who seemed to know a lot of things, and he said, oh yeah, that's quite typical in poetry because it ties the old to the new. So never mind if you can't read the whole poem, you're still tying the old to the new. There are just so many ways that we do things differently in this world, you know, and you can just, doesn't make us right. You just smile and go, okay, you know. If you want to read the whole poem, go study the archaic characters. Sounds like a project.
What was it again? Here I stand.
Here, miles from Japan, I stand as if warmed by the spring sunshine of home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they pulled a fast one on me. I learned that back in the the mid-70s. And somewhere along all these years, they changed the translation. I go, you don't do that to old ladies, they forget. Okay, we're going to go look over, we're going to go to the right here, and we're going to look down at this garden, since we didn't walk down into it. So you can look at it that way, whether you get a husband or not. If the bed's in the right place in the room, that's good. You know, and the same with the rocks in the garden, I think. you can tell if something isn't placed. Anybody here would go, oh God, that just looks like they dropped it off the truck and it was too heavy to move, so they left it there rather than carefully planted it so it was in the right place. Now this garden, of course, doesn't follow the tradition because alrighty. Of these different styles of gardens you walk through, this style is probably the oldest. It's called the it's called the flat garden. This style of garden was always designed to be seen from an engala like this, a veranda. And it's flat so that if you're inside and the screens are open, see, so that if you are outside here on this veranda and the screens are open, the picture from the outside is visible from inside, and then again if you're out here, the inside is visible outside. So it's tying inside and outside together. And anybody who's ever thought about Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture, that's the principle that he used throughout his architecture. He was very influenced by the Japanese. Now, I mentioned to you once in talking about the tea house and the tea house garden, the pictures of etchings or watercolors of craggy mountains, and then usually there's a layer of vapors or clouds or something, and that brings your eye down to some little detail at the bottom of the painting. And this garden works the same way. We don't have craggy mountains in this direction, but we've got the forest trees, which are really big. And so this row of Japanese maples and dogwoods, they're like the clouds. They bring the scale down to the bottom down here of the painting, down here to the ground level, so that we can focus a bit on the patterns and designs that are down here. As you look across here, you can see that there's a mixture of deciduous plants and trees. Those are the ones that lose their leaves. Broadleaf evergreens, which are the azaleas and well, in this case, these are mostly azaleas, and they stay green all winter. And then the conifers, which are the pines and some of the smaller pines. So there's this mixture of 3 different kinds of plants, and it's very carefully balanced so that at any time of year, this is beautiful. In the fall, the fall colors are glorious. In the spring now, we have a lot of blooms. In the winter, the conifers are all going, yeah, we're happy. Really like cold weather. So you get that balance. And also the way they're placed. They're placed in patterns of mixtures of broadleaf evergreens and the conifers and the deciduous things, you know. The gravel in this case, again, represents water. This represents the ocean, and you might say, well, why don't you, which is what I would say. It happens to be an ocean, and you know it because the pines back on the other side of the water are Japanese black pines, which grow along the water in Japan. So if you've been to Japan and you knew your trees, you'd go, of course it's the ocean, because they're the Japanese black pines, otherwise you'd go, you know, but it's the ocean. And these 2 islands here in the ocean represent a gourd and a teacup. And in the old days, when people didn't have plastic water bottles to take water or tea or whatever they wanted to the fields, they'd hollow out river squash and use them to carry liquids. And so here you've got a gourd and the little round cup. The garden is wishing you hospitality by offering you a drink, say. Got that?
Yep.
Okay, a flat garden, always flat, very old style. Meant to tie the inside of the blooms into the outside so that there's a relationship between the inside and outside.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. And of course, there's a great deal of pruning that goes on in the Japanese garden, and that's for scale, for the scale of it. And that's the difference between any well-maintained garden, whether it's Japanese or a Western garden, and Forest Park in the background, because there isn't a lot of pruning in Forest Park unless the trees falling across the path or something. And here, the scale is so important that there's just constant pruning so that something doesn't get too big to mess up the scale of it. And so, and that natural garden we didn't get to walk down through is one where it's not.
Hey, this is Andy's commentary. If you hear some of the kids talking about a certain smell, some reason in that area, that specific area, I mean, the rest of the park was fine, But that specific area just smelled like sewage. Why? Who knows?
So the pavilion is a authentic Japanese.
Bye. Man, I always catch a tail end in my recordings. We're back now. Such beautiful. So we just stand here. Let's go to the gift shop. Alright, this is the part where we split off with our tour guide because she had to do another appointment. So we were left free to do whatever we want, except, and this is the caveat, not to go through any of the buildings and not any of the other like shops, and especially the gift shop. That we were warned about not going to the gift shop. And as you see me, I'm trailing off to the gift shop because no one told me. And hell, if they told me, I was still gone. So here's some exclusive footage of what it's like inside that building. Japanese Coors Light cooler. Japanese iPad. Very nice. What? I don't know if you're allowed over there. People go up there, man. I'm fine, you know what? I'll chill down here. And then stumble into the gift shop. Oh, and now we're in the gift shop. So you need, I didn't know there was a gift shop. There's some tea.
What's the money you got on you?
$10.
Yeah, 40.
I got a credit card.
I have 45. I'm not gonna bring it.
Just keep it in your bag.
I could. I have 4 books flat.
I have $10. I can cover for change. On a really nice Suvi. Or get yourself a very nice $30, dude. You have $30. Or do you want a bonsai seat kit? I gotta really watch my bags. I don't want to break them. There's something really small in, like get lost in Oregon. Because you don't, oh look, they even got erasers. Lights on it. very nice thing, Annie. Put on your cuffs. Uh-oh, I think we left people. Two fallen soldiers. Alright, update. We have two people missing. I know where they were. They were at the gift shop. Tapped them on the shoulder. They said okay, that we were leaving. But now, I gotta sit at the bottom. So, no soldier left behind. It's a ramp, hell yeah. Japanese, very chill, accessible. Huh? Alright. Right, so we're missing two people. And I saw them in the gift shop and I told them they get. So I gotta stay by the pool.
You told them, right?
I told them, yeah. Don't worry, I gave them ample. I'm guessing they're buying stuff.
What did you say to them directly?
I said, hey, we're going. And she said, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you were leaving the shop, not the whole class was leaving.
Yeah, that could have been the case.
So they might be looking like, hey, where'd they go?
Or I got chilled by the pool. And like, what? What? Oh, really funny. She went back to get two kids. Yeah, I got it.
More important things to be worried about.
Alright, first off, this point in time, we did get the two kids back, so we didn't take a picture without them, so yeah. Japanese Gargan! God dang it! I said Japanese Gargan.
My favorite Japanese
That could have been really bad.
What?
Chikubi.
It's what?
Chikubi.
What?
Chikubi.
Chikibu? What's that?
You'll figure that.
What?
What Chikubi means?
No.
Nipples.
Chikubi means nipple. I hate you. You can do that as I do. What? You back?
Yeah.
Alright, at this point in the documentary, we did leave the gardens. I'm not sure why, but we had a lot of time to kill, so we visited the neighboring gardens, which was a lot of roses, flowers, and a lot of plants. Apparently a stage too, so for this next bit, it's just gonna be me and my brother just goofing off and saying random crap. I don't know. Enjoy. Forward to kick up the truck. That's really racist, Ed. You should stop doing it. Thanks, other Randy.
Well, man, Peter called earlier. I don't know if he won.
Oh my god.
My ankles are not.
Your ankles are gonna hate you. Yeah. Where's everyone? They just split off.
Yeah.
It's probably the other side.
Want to go to the tent store?
Sure. If you want. Hey.
Get move on.
Let's get a move on, boy. I broke my damn ankle.
I did break my foot. Right after the butt.
I broke the goddamn wheel.
You eat babies.
You eat babies.
Yeah, you sound like John Mark. You eat babies.
You eat babies.
Yeah, you sound like John.
You sound like that kind of yells.
You eat babies.
And then Arthur is
You eat babies. Those were the people that weren't missing.
I know, so let's do it. We go ask what they
Black
bought.
hair, orange hair.
I said, you want to ask what they bought?
Hey, someday.
When we get back on the bus. Hey, let's stick together, man. Look at the money.
Hey man, I have my own responsibilities. Look, there's the other group. It's where they rendezvous too. Oh, Eddie, water! Oh, the rest of the group. Andy, this is respectful. Dip your hand in the water. And you gotta rinse it off.
See if I can call her right. You can see?
Here, you guys get in the middle.
Again,
Did you do a picture?
Strike a pose. Get in there. Come on, Dal. Okay, ready? Uno, dos,
get in here, Andy.
cheese, queso, queso. Or how would you say that in Japanese?
Itadakimasu!
Each knee, son.
Ichi, ni, san! Oh, banzai! I just said itadakimasu. It's eat. Eat! Hey, hey, san!
I'm sweating.
Banzai!
Let's circle around that.
You wanna, we should just, oh, I can't speak English. Next time just don, like, kimonos. Or just Japanese robes. And, like, samurai swords.
I was hoping they would saw hot earlier. That's the gift shop, you know? Oh, they do some shits and goobies stuff.
Yeah, in Portland. Alright.
Yeah, you know, that's, they want to eat.
I smell weed. I can't tell that's weed or actual skunk. Shit, who? I mean, then again, if any place you want to smoke up in, it'd be a nice garden. Itadakimasu. Oh, it's poopy. What fertilizer is, Andy? Whoa. That guy. Shut up, Andy. No, I really wanted to go upstairs to that place. But like, if I really didn't go there, one, I saw one of my classmates go up there. Two, if they really didn't want me to go up there, they would have put a sign up there.
That way you can go kick rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't want to kill her one, would you, Arthur? Yeah, I suppose. You eat babies. You eat babies. I just can't ignore them. You eat babies. It's just the funniest thing. Ba-da-dun-dun. My gonna be great for my YouTube. Oh, we've made a full circle. I think we explored everything. Bro, I'm literally crossing off checkpoints on my map. Like, honestly, bro. Oh no, are we gonna get robbed?
The highway, not just the road.
We're gonna get robbed in here.
We're gonna get stuck up. Oh, look, Randy, we're going down this way.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Andy, I think that's just maintenance. You really think?
Trail.
Yeah, but you think we could get back in 20 minutes? It's 20 right now.
Fine.
It's 12, I mean. I suppose. I guess. Oh my god, my young ankles are gonna get older by the minute, bro. If you already stopped, like, yeah, I'm gonna hang out here. Like, shit, bro, you gotta at least go around.
We're already here.
Right? You got a lot of places to sit.
You'll find it. Perfect.
Miss Stewart's group know what's up. Taking pictures. Cause you eat babies.
Oh, man. Wow.
Look at that. You want to take another picture of this damn thing, Andy?
Oh, yeah, get the size of scale.
That's pretty big.
How'd she say?
Oh, shut up. You eat babies. Sorry. Oh, I saw McDonald's coffee cup. I'm like, ooh, lots of McDonald's.
So head on. I mean, if this are max, you know.
Right?
I would gladly take it.
Oh, wait. What, Andy?
I'm supposed to sit with you.
That's the whole that's one that. Extended thing with the black stuff.
Oh, we may have to sit with our partners, though.
No matter. He's my brother, right?
Alright. Update.
Right, you go to the gift shop.
Second.
No, we didn't have any time.
I did. I was talking about being there. Yeah, second group missed rendezvous by 20 minutes, so we're here.
We're not allowed in the gift shop.
Look, there's Miss Stewart guiding traffic. God bless her.
Huh?
But yeah, so now we're here. Look at this. Pretty much. Alright, so at this point, a group and like maybe one individual missed the rendezvous by at least okay, so for the first group missed it by 20-30 minutes. An individual, which basically I'm not gonna name, who held us up for at least like an hour. I'm not even joking. We were there for so long. So, and we were trying to meet a deadline, not deadline, but a meetup point for the next tour, which happened at 1. Turns out that 1 o'clock appointment was actually pretty liquid, so you didn't need to like show up at 1. You could just like show basically whenever. But yeah, so we were there for a good while in a hot bus with 30 kids like a sardine, just waiting for the one individual to show up. Like, please, next time when everyone's on a field trip, have reminders, write it down. Come on, people. Update. We're lost. We're in some white boy suburban neighborhood, and I'm scared.
Keep it going. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's right right there.
Pressure got us lost? Just kidding, I'm sorry. Now, at this point, I didn't actually mean to dote on her. She was a really nice bus driver, and she's really skilled at her job, so, I mean, props to her. I mean, I didn't get her name, but she was awesome, so, you know. Good job, bus driver. Thank you for keeping us safe, you know. Driving a big bus is actually pretty hard work. I can't even back out of my own car, so, you know, that's a lot of credit for me, so, yeah, there you go. I don't know. Still recording, bro. Domo and Konich.
Armpits too.
Do that. Well, I think we might as well get up. Now, you may be asking, why are we hiking up this long road? And you may ask it twice, without this commentary, if you would see the bus later in the parking lot of that place we went to. Well, turns out that the teacher's really skeptical about a big bus going through these long dirt roads that were, on Teetering Cliff with like 30 kids in it. So, Miss Stewart did ask a park ranger, or some sort of ranger who was, taking over the place, and he said that it was actually pretty normal for buses our size to get up this hill.
Probably one
So,
of the USBs or something.
the bus would pull around later to pick us up and drive us downhill. So, we got like a good mile hike out of that one. So, yeah, watch some kids suffer for like 2-3 minutes. Holy Jesus. We're gonna all the way up there, bro. Shit.
Who's gonna lift that boat?
Who gonna lift that boat?
Yeah, Tanner and Joe Goggins.
Yeah. Oh, I see the top.
I'm trying to make this cinematic as possible, but hey, get out of the parking lot. People trying to move. Oh, there's even a store. Oh, Randy, it's $10 to get in.
I'm good. I thought that was a Japanese man.
Oh.
Closer.
Did you hear my heavy breathing? Oh, nine. Oh, beard set. Me neither.
You might need to buy that.
Dude. What? We know it's a pain in the ass to get up here. Nice puzzle for the road. And how about chess? Sophisticated man plays chess on the road. Okay. Is it? Yes, chess. Oh, God. Chess, cornhole, tic-tac-toe, ring toss. I don't think Japanese.
You might have to buy it.
I don't need. It's gonna be really expensive. Oh, Andy, First World War. We're gonna eat lunch now. Ah, very beautiful. Come on, light. Oh yeah. Built on the backs of slaves. I'm just kidding.
All right, off the back of that off-color statement, let's read up the Wikipedia article, because I feel like I need to make amends for that comment. All right, this is the Wikipedia page. The Pittock Mansion is a French Renaissance-style chateau in the West Hills of Portland, Oregon, United States. The mansion was originally built in 1914 as a private home for London-born Oregonian publisher Henry Pittock and his wife Georgia Burton Pittock. It is a 46-room estate built of Toronto sandstone on 46 acres. This is not This is now owned by the city's Bureau of Parks and Recreation and open for touring. Alright, you know that. Let's see here. Pittock was constructed in 1909 by London-born publishers and business tycoon Henry Pittock as a private residence for himself and his wife Georgina. We know that. The interiors of the massive were modeled on an eclectic collection of styles of Jacobean, Edwin, Turkish, and French Renaissance architecture. Georgian Pittock was an avid gardener. Political scandal. And the home was the center of political scandal in 1911 when a Portland City Council member, Will H. Daly, brought public attention to Pittock having arranged for a water line to the construction project entirely at city expense, despite it being located a half-mile outside of the city limits at the time. The incident contributed to a long-standing feud between Pittock's paper and Daly, which ultimately led to the end of the councilman's political career. Georgina died in 1918 at the age of 72, and Henriette 1919 at 84. I see nothing about his life, so, I mean, but then again, you're rich, you're gonna have at least servants, so, I don't know, maybe. I don't know, don't quote me on that, but, yeah, the more you know, I guess. If you look really closely at that tree, there's two shirtless guys in there. I have no idea why they were doing there, but I'm guessing they're living their life, I guess. So, who am I to judge, you know? Alright, so at this point, we just basically packed up and went home. I mean, I slept through most of it, so I didn't record it much, because I was just dead tired from it. I mean, I got pretty good sleep. I saw a kid, he was like basically kissing the seat in front of him when he was taking a nap, so that was kind of funny. But, I mean, yeah, look, we're going back to Mountain View. And this video was really fun to edit and make. It's a little more relaxed one, so there's like mistakes and stuff, and little bits of audio that normally I would cut out, but, you know, doing one take, I guess, would be pretty fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this long video. I mean, I think the longest video I ever made is about maybe 2 hours, I think, 17 minutes, maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy.